Talk to me about that, Al, at that age, looking at the forefront of technology. What was it like?
Top 10 bank at that time. They never had the AI
Really?
department. They created a department. They hired me as the first manager of the AI department at age 26.
We know AI now, ChatGPT, we know Claude, we know this. What was AI that?
Believe it or not, a lot of people knew earlier version of AI at that time. Actually, many banks were beginning to use the earlier form of AI for fraud detection.
Where AI was not even a thing?
It was not even quite called AI yet, but there were elements of the present day AI. They're called.
I guess you use AI within your company.
Nope, not today.
Oh no, you're kidding me. Good morning, Al. So we're here with Al. He is the founder, managing partner, and chief investment officer of Quartus Capital Partners, venture growth equity investor, and board member. We are going deep dive into what is Quartus Capital Partner, your basis of how you created it, what is your thesis of investment thesis, what makes you really strike as a leader, as an entrepreneur. The most interesting side of it is your AI pioneer and what that drives your business and moving forward, the impact that it has. So you have had an incredible journey and you ventured into AI very early in your career. What made you go into that route, AI?
I would be lying to you if I say that I had this grand plan at age 22, 23, that I want to study AI and AI is going to be big 30, 40 years later. It just so happened. I always wanted to go to the top-notch school that I could go to. And I ended up at a university that had a state-of-the-art AI program in the mid-'80s.
Where AI was not even a thing?
It was not even quite called AI yet, but there were elements of the present-day AI. You know, AI word existed,
Okay.
concept existed, but it was very rudimentary AI. So it happened by chance, but also from my desire to be at the forefront of what was going on in technology at that time.
Well, talk to me about that, Al, at that age, looking at the forefront of technology. What was it like?
I think we might have to go back another step. After I finished my high school in Pakistan, I was a valedictorian of my school. I got a scholarship to study abroad. And it just so happened, growing up in Pakistan, the options were limited, the countries that I could go to. China was one of them. So I opted to go to China to study and live there.
In Mandarin?
Yes. So I had to learn Chinese for 1 full year, along with students from 130 some odd countries. You name a country and students from that country were in my language university. And after that, I opted to go to a 5-year engineering program instead of 4-year. Most students will want to do 4 years. I said, I'm going to go to the top school in China that happened to have only 5-year engineering program. So I did a 5-year engineering program. And at that university, they utilized MIT's curriculum. So that was the point of attraction for me. And I was like 19 years old, something like that.
So driven Al at 19 in China.
Yes.
That took you to many work experiences from Deloitte, from different areas. What did you pick on that? And when was the time you said, I need to be on my own?
Well, that's a compressing 30 plus years of professional career.
Walk us through then.
So after I finished while I was in China, going to school in China, I wanted to work. Unlike other students, they just want to read books and do homework and so forth. have fun, but I also wanted to work. So I actually looked for things to do outside school while I was on full scholarship. I didn't need money, but I wanted experiences. So I actually taught American executives who were posted in Beijing how to use computers. So computers were new. I was one of the very few, maybe the only student in my dormitory that has his own personal computer. So I bought a personal computer. I was teaching American executives who were twice my age at least, maybe more than that, how to use computers. And that was in Beijing. Then I worked for U.S.-China Business Council, which is a not-for-profit group formed when Elder President Bush was ambassador in Beijing. I worked for them. I used to run spreadsheet-based research for them. So I did all that before I finished my college. And after college, I applied for graduate programs in the U.S., and then I came to U.S. So that's China chapter was 7 long years. 1 year of Chinese language, 5 years of engineering program. Then I worked for a American company in Beijing right after my college.
Okay. Well, that's good. So in the U.S., you started working as a consultant. What was your plan at that time? Well,
my graduate program in Cleveland was at Case Western Reserve. It's considered one of the top, maybe 20, 30 engineering and technology universities. So I did a graduate program in computer science and management. So I studied more AI during my graduate programs. So different facets of AI. After I finished my graduate program, like many international students, I had to figure out where to go work. And a lot of companies would not hire international students. But I was very fortunate that a local bank, which was top 10 bank at that time, top 10 bank in the country, they hired me as the first manager of the AI department. They never had the AI department. They created a department. They hired me. I was 26 years old, I think. And everybody around me was in 50s or 60s, all of my peers. And I reported to kind of a deputy CIO of this $50 billion bank at age 26. So that was my first job, basically teaching my elder.
Did they actually call it AI?
Yeah.
And what was AI about? Because we know AI now, ChatGPT, we know Claude, we know this. What was AI that?
Believe it or not, a lot of people knew earlier version of AI at that time because I studied in the 80s from books that talked about AI. And when I was working for the bank, actually many banks were beginning to use the earlier form of AI for fraud detection. They call pattern recognition. So pattern recognition is the oldest form of AI. It's also human intelligence, how we recognize colors, how we recognize alphabets or people. That's patterns, right? So pattern recognition was the science that I studied in college and graduate school. And using that technology, you could detect within your credit card customers, which customers may be good customers or not so good customers from credit perspective, who might commit fraud.
So
things like that.
Mostly on the fraud, on automating activities, cumbersome activities, or from fraud, from customer service, I believe that came later.
So it's basically going through data and looking for patterns. And that's why it's called pattern recognition. It's just like when we go to grocery store. We're saying, I want to buy apples. You look at them and saying, this apple is good and this apple is not good. Because our eyes are trained to look for what a good apple looks like.
Right? So you use that pattern recognition in your leadership style as well?
Well, I honestly, we all use that pattern recognition all the time.
What's your style then?
So style for selecting people or
Selecting portfolio companies.
Very complex set of patterns and decisions. So pattern recognition is just one form of AI. There are other forms of AI, including rule-based, expert-based, expertise-based. So human being, we make decisions based on many form of intelligence. So pattern recognition is just
one of them.
Yeah, one of them. Rules are saying it has to have these conditions.
Right.
So those are rules. The things where you can tick off.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So human decision making is combination of patterns and rules, and then there's what we were discussing yesterday at the event: feeling, emotions.
Human side of it.
Actually, all these are human.
Right.
Pattern recognition is human.
Yeah.
This
is it the serendipity side of it, or
this is the first thing we learn as babies?
Right.
Patterns.
Right.
Which is my toy? Which is my milk? Which is my mom? Which is my dad? That's the earliest form of pattern recognition for babies.
Mm-hmm.
And so this is human. However, science or technology is replicating that in computational methods, right? Rule-based, same thing. You don't cross the street if there is a red light, etc. So this is a bad decision or good decision if you don't meet certain conditions. So humans have been making those decisions. The difference between computers or AI and natural intelligence is emotions, how big a role emotions play in our decision making.
We're not there yet with AI.
We are not. And I don't think we will be there for foreseeable future.
Okay.
Even if we are at some point in the future, it will not be necessarily a replica or replacement for human emotions.
Going back, you work PwC, Deloitte, you work at IBM before founding Quartus. What make you tick? What make you explore something on your own?
So that decision is a culmination of 25, 30 years of professional experience in consulting. So when I was leaving the bank in Cleveland to move to New York, my mind was set that I want to be a management consultant. I wanted to have the experience of doing things across a very broad segment of clients and problems. And only consultants can do that. If you worked in a corporate environment, you will be doing same thing for 5, 10, 20 years. So when I moved to New York, I was very fortunate. I got a job at Deloitte, and I worked with them for several years. Then I moved to other firms. So I spent 25 or so years at successive firms, Deloitte, then American Management Systems. They don't exist anymore under that name. IBM Business Consulting, then Bearing Point, which is former KPMG Consulting, and then PwC. So these were 5, 6 firms that I worked at over 25 plus years. So I kept on thinking, this is what I will be doing rest of my life, and till I retire. However, one thing changed. When I was at PwC, I was offered to go to a leadership development program at INSEAD in France, which is a famous business school in Europe. And at that school, we were learning, I and my fellow PwC partners were learning blue ocean strategy, which is a new way of thinking about any business. So when we were doing exercises there, we were imagining what if PwC changed its structure and became more like Bain Capital and Bain Consulting. PwC has all the skills that Bain has, but it doesn't have the capital.
Right.
So I say, what if we marry the consulting skills with capital? So this is where I got the idea, saying, Why PwC is not doing this? Could they be doing that? Could I be doing that? So when I came back from that program, I was already imagining, marrying capital with consulting.
Okay.
So this is how my idea of Quartus Capital Partner was born. So I read many, many books, a history of Goldman Sachs, to history of KKR, to Carlyle, et cetera, and also one of the largest Brazilian private equity firm. The name is slipping on my tongue.
Okay.
So I read all these books to figure out what to do, how to do, when to do it. So this is what all transpired during my last year at PwC. It was roughly 10 years ago.
10 years ago. All right. So Quartus Capital Partners describes itself as a AI-driven growth equity firm that goes beyond typical venture investing. So what problem do you think Quartus is actually solving for? Or were you thinking about Quartus 10 years ago?
So once we launched Quartus Capital Partners, it was not immediate that we said we are going to do growth stage venture capital or venture growth strategy. It was a culmination of additional few years of debate, discussions, research, analysis. And several of my earlier partners wanted to do earlier stage venture capital. What we concluded after spending a couple of years thinking about it is we are much more suitable, or I am much more suitable to do mid-stage, late stage, where we are working with handful, few companies,
okay,
where we are investing significant amount of time with them doing value-add activities. And we thought this is where we will perform better. Earlier stage venture capital, to me, has become largely a game of spraying in many different directions,
okay,
with the hope that one or two companies will be successful. In our strategy, however, we wanted to focus on a handful, few companies where we expect all of them to be successful.
okay. Many concepts here. One of them, growth. We're talking about growth stage AI tech. That particular segment, focus point of Quartus, what would that be?
So a typical company that we will consider investing in has been around for 5 to 10 years.
Okay.
It's not something somebody just started in their garage. They have a commercially viable product. They have actually successfully sold the product to numerous customers. Mm-hmm. They have commercial revenue, anywhere from 1 million to 5 million.
Okay.
And our threshold is going up by the day because we are getting better as well over time. Mm-hmm. So roughly 5 million revenue, commercial revenue.
Okay.
So that's the basis. Just saying this company has been around. They have sustained themselves. They have survived. Now they are ready to grow. So we call them J-curve. So this is the company's J-curve. The companies start and they lose money while they're developing the product, and they hit a bottom and they start going up. So this inflection point is where we begin to invest. So we tend to...
Maybe the valley of death in terms of consulting?
So that's another concept. Okay. But this J-curve,
okay,
is a summation of all of their multiple companies are just about to take off. That's
that inflection
that's
point.
Where we invest. And they are on upward path already,
okay,
but it's a very early stage. When they are downward path, we don't invest.
How do you see those? How do you
in their numbers?
Based on their numbers?
Yeah.
Based on past experience, maybe? Based on
numbers.
Any industry, any vertical in particular?
Well, in most cases, our decision is based on qualitative and quantitative aspects. Quantitatively, we look at revenues, their
right.
financials.
Okay.
We can see this company has grown 9% year on year. This company has grown 100%. One of our company grew 300%. From 23 to 24. So we could see that. But sometime, if we see a potential in a company, it may not materialize.
Okay.
Or it may not materialize right away. But at the time of the investment, we can clearly see that this company is going to go places. Assuming they get the capital, they get the right conditions, they can do a lot. But some companies actually don't. They, as soon as we put money in them, they may not achieve that result. So,
in terms of that playbook, so it's returns or revenues, it's proven, it's part of that inflection point where they're starting to grow. Any industry specifics or any AI needs to be in the forefront, I guess.
So I think the perhaps the most fundamental criteria that we haven't talked about yet is how technology or AI intensive this company is. So that's generally our first criteria.
Okay.
We say, how good are they with AI or technology? Mm-hmm. Are they using AI for superficial purposes, or are they doing something with AI which is very disruptive or unique, right? Mm-hmm. So that's our first criteria. And growth or growth potential is one of the top three criteria. But obviously you have to look at the valuation, right, et cetera, et cetera. So there are multiple factors that we look at.
Any geographies particular?
Our current fund strategy is predominantly focused on U.S. Companies. Exceptionally, we will invest outside the U.S.
I see, if you look into Quartus Capital Partners, you see a lot of health related investments. Why would you go into AI and health?
So when we started the firm, when we launched the fund, we did not think we will have 3 or 4 healthcare related companies in our portfolio, but it just so happened very organically. So we found out that healthcare is one of the few sectors where AI has very distinct and impactful, innovations. So that attracted us to those companies. So for example, one of the companies that we invested in is using AI, a very complex form of AI, to address chronic disease care. So basically taking DNA, blood work, prescription medicine history, personal lifestyle questionnaire, all that data, and processing like a very senior medical doctor will do, right, in 3 minutes. If a doctor were to do that same work, it would take them 200 to 300 hours. That company made sense to us. But we did not invest in them just because they have this product. They also commercially sold it, and they have commercial agreements with major, labs. So all that was basis of us investing in that company.
Okay, so there's health, there's education, but maybe if we go back to your idea of impact, and you refer a lot of your thesis is built around investment and impact. How would you describe that?
So impact is an output of what we do. We don't necessarily look for it, but it just so happened that impact is in everything that we have invested so far in different form. So let me clarify. We don't proactively look for impact-focused companies.
Okay.
It's not in our criteria. So it's not a top-down. It's kind of a bottom-up. Or you can say that even if we don't look for these impact or impact-focused companies, it just so happened that all of our investment that we have made have impact in society because they're trying to.
Do you think it's coincidence?
It's not coincidental, but I think it's somehow inherent in how we look at the application of technology. For example, we don't invest in consumer AI tech. We don't.
Okay. Okay.
We don't want to invest in games. We don't want to invest in sports. We invest in serious applications of AI. Serious applications of AI happen to have impact because they're driven to solve some complex problems, right? It could be education, could be healthcare, could be supply chain, could be climate tech, could be security. All those are impacts.
So applying that blue ocean that you went through that study, or you went through that exercise, or came upon that idea early in your career, what's happening? What's the blue ocean on the AI and the map around what's happening currently and what Quartus Capital is looking forward?
I think it's less a blue ocean, but it's a lot of ideas happening in our minds as to these very large learning models. They call LLMs. Mm-hmm. And some people believe LLM is the future, right? But some of us believe that there are other alternative ways to apply artificial intelligence are going to emerge. And those they will be more based on how human make decisions. So their orientation is human neurology based or brain based algorithms. We are talking to one company that has a similar approach. So basically, origin of their approach is biological in nature, although it's a software.
Okay.
But they are mimicking how human neurons or human brain cells work and learn things and store stuff. So they're using this piece of software to train like we train children.
Okay.
So they are saying their model can act as a 5-year-old or 9-year-old or 12-year-old or 15-year-old. They're doing that. At some point, they will have a software that will have the intelligence of a college graduate. Then they will have intelligence for a graduate, studies graduate. That is alternative to LLMs. So this approach does not require computing powers the way LLMs require. They don't burn a lot of electricity. They don't require nuclear power plants to supply the.
How would they process that? The amount of data would not consume.
They are not crunching data.
Okay.
They are not crunching data. So LLMs are crunching millions and billions of documents.
Right.
Here, they're actually teaching these AI models just like we teach kids at home, in school, and college and graduate school. It's a very complex concept to convey.
Okay.
And we didn't invent
it. Would be
this.
generative, like they're talking?
No, it's not generative.
Okay.
So it's the opposite of generative. Generative AI is mostly, as we were discussing last night, is predictive in nature. So it's predicting what is next.
Right.
Here it's not. It's basically saying, based on my learning, this is what I would do. It's not based on the data crunching. And it will also have some...
It's not predictive.
It's not predictive. It's a more learning-based decision-making. And it has many different learning methods all embedded in one piece of software.
Are you investing in those type of ideas?
We are considering. So this company, one of the companies that we're talking to, was started by one of the foremost AI pioneers.
Okay.
But nobody has taken interest in companies like this because everybody is on LLM bandwagon.
What the next word would be? It's not generative, or it's not... What was it called yesterday?
I don't know what the name of this AI would be without delving into any proprietary information about this company, it's an alternative to generative AI.
Okay.
And so it's just a very, very fascinating. This is how I learned in the 80s and early 90s. This is how I used to think about it. So it's basically in software creating neurons.
Okay.
And that those neurons, the way human neurons work, and they communicate with each other. This is what Nima was talking about yesterday.
Right.
That's why he's a medical doctor and focused on AI, because AI's origins came from our own study of human brain. So this software mimics more closely to how human decision making works versus generative AI.
So when I asked you this in our previous conversations, is it a bubble? AI, is it a bubble, or is it some hype, somewhat of a hype at this point?
So pretty much all technologies go through the hype cycle.
Okay.
It's called hype cycle. So I don't know what stage of the hype cycle we are at. But all these big companies that have spent billions of dollars in LLM or generative AI, none of them are making money from this yet, or making profit for sure. Some might be making small amount of money, but it's really a money-losing business right now.
Okay.
But at some point, they will have to turn to generate some revenue and profits.
Okay, talk to me about the funds, the Fund 1 and Fund 2 that Quartus Capital has or will have. What stage are they at? Can you describe the first one and the second one?
So our current fund is a target $100 million fund. We launched it during the thick of COVID at the very tail end of 2020. And fundraising has been very, very challenging, as I'm sure you know. But we have been able to raise some money. We have $20+ million raised and funded. We have 50 some odd million soft circled. Basically, people said they are considering to invest or they have verbally committed. So we feel pretty good at where this fund is today.
Okay.
But we're closing this fund by June 30th. So we don't know whether it will close at 50 million or less or more.
Okay.
But we're closing this. After this fund is closed, we are planning to launch a larger fund. Very similar strategy, but that strategy will build on this current fund strategy. Basically, we'll do add-on or follow-on investments in some other portfolio companies, and we'll also add significant number of new companies.
Okay, so where do you see Quartus Capital Partners in 5 years?
5 years sometimes feels like a lifetime, but we clearly have a strategy, we have thoughts on what we want to achieve. We expect within the next 5 years, we would have at least 2 funds closed, the current Fund 1 and the new Fund 2, and we would have few exits from our portfolio.
And a multiple of, or can you?
Our target is 4x. And there is a whole thesis behind it. There's a whole science behind it. The target is to do 4x net multiples for the investors. So it's a very high hurdle, but we feel comfortable that we have process and approach in place to potentially achieve this. Again, this is a target.
Talk to me about your team, the team that follows you or is with you in this investment thesis and growth for Quartus.
So we are a very small team. Our core team today is 5 people.
Okay.
Myself, Rizwan Mohammed, Tim Thang, Sophia Kao, and Barry Day. So out of these 5 people, some of us have known each other for 40 plus years. Some we have known each other for 15, 20 years, and so forth. So Rizwan and I went to high school together in Pakistan. So I've known him for 40 plus years. And we have lived and worked in the U.S. for 30 plus years.
Rizwan's philosopher, or?
Rizwan is my right brain or left brain, depending upon the day of the week. So we complement each other significantly. I cannot imagine running the firm, without him being involved. Likewise, Tim Thang, although he is based in Asia, is equally important, senior partner with me, with Rizwan. And so the 3 of us are the more senior people among the team. Sophia, who just moved from China to New York last month, she's going to be working full-time out of our New York office, going forward. So she will likely become our deputy chief investment officer, as she becomes, integrated into the firm. And Barry Day is the only non-equity partner in our team. He leads our due diligence of all the companies that we invest in. So the 5 of us operate like a very cohesive team.
All distributed.
Yeah, distributed, but we are on the phone or Zoom or calls all the time. I was texting Tim last night. I was up. I was texting him. It was morning in China, right? So Rizwan and I are on the call 3, 4 times, 6 times a day, right? So we are continuously in touch with each other through electronic means or video calls.
And how do you keep up to date with the trends of what's happening in AI and either your portfolio companies? How do you choose them? How do you keep a? I saw you yesterday at the Miami Club AI. What is it? Miami AI Club.
Yeah, so it's a lot of work. So staying on top of our 8 portfolio companies is a challenging task. So I don't do it by myself, obviously. So we have other partners who look into those companies as well. But at any one time, we are more actively engaged with maybe 2 or 3 companies. They either need a lot more love and care, and others are very well run. They don't need a lot of attention from us. So there are 2 buckets. So we spend a lot of time on 2 or 3 companies that require a lot more attention, just like a family. So when you have 8 kids, and
a sports team.
Yeah. So I grew up in a very large family. So so we can talk about 11 and 12.
I did too. How many siblings?
I grew up in a family of 12 kids.
12 kids? 6.
Yeah.
Half.
So at any one time, 1 or 2 kids would be sick or having some problem or challenge.
Are you the first ones or the?
I'm in the middle.
Me too.
Yeah.
The sandwich.
Yeah. So the 8 companies at any one time, 2 or 3 would require some attention. So we spend a lot more time with them while we speak with all of them once a quarter, sometime once a month. But those 2 or 3 companies, we talk to them once, twice a week. I was texting CEO of one company this morning while I was waiting for Uber.
So talk to me about the 8 companies that you have in their portfolio, and what would be if a company is willing to come in or looking into Quartus, what would they expect from Quartus Capital Partners?
It will vary by the company.
Okay.
For some company, or for most companies, it was the idea of the right investor at the right time.
Okay.
So Well, we would even tell them we are not the fastest tool in the toolkit, but we know what we know. We believe what we believe. So we're good at what we do. And so if you're willing to work with a smaller emerging firm, like we have been, but people with very serious depth of knowledge of AI and technology and access to global markets, come and work with us.
Okay.
That has been our selling point. And we have been able to successfully sell that to 8 companies, actually 9. We just signed the 9th company.
Okay.
So 9 companies, they picked us and we picked them. So it's a mutual selection.
It's a mutual. Okay. How long does it take?
Well,
to
for
onboard them?
us, as I said, we are not the fastest tool in the toolkit.
Okay.
We spend a lot of time. So the fastest we have signed up with a company probably would be 3 months.
Okay.
Usually takes 6 months or longer because we watch, we observe over time, and even after spending months, we decide not to invest for various reasons.
Okay.
So on the average, probably 3 months on the low end, 6 months on the high end.
And what is, talking about pattern recognition, what is the one thing that you see common in the needs or the problems that the portfolio company have at that J inflection point?
It's different for different company.
Okay.
And as I said, pre-investment and post-investment, it's just like dating and getting married.
Okay.
So when you're dating somebody, right, they all behave very well, right?
Uh-huh.
And so the relationships change
Okay.
as people get married. So it's same thing. So pre-investment, post-investment is roughly similar. I'm not saying it's bad. It just changes.
Okay.
So you learn things about a company that you invested in after you put money in them. Some good, some bad.
Mm-hmm.
So most of the time it's good, but sometimes you learn things which are not as true as they looked. Or people behave differently than they behaved prior to investment. Other times it's out of their control, macroeconomics, or industry sector situation changes, right? So all these things happen. And we know that because going in, we knew that we're going to put money in these companies and they are organic beings. They're going to change. They're going to fluctuate.
Okay. So
It's
not
not like a straight line.
Okay, but there's not one theme that could be. But then again, they come to Quartus Capital Partners and they are part of the team. They have that engagement daily, monthly, whatnot that has, and you're expecting 4x multiple. So in a way, so there's something that you bring in, your secret sauce, if you will, that you bring in.
A lot of secret sauce is in negotiating the terms and conditions. So terms and conditions in our investment term sheet are perhaps the most critical aspect. We only invest in preferred securities. We never have and never will invest in common shares. Some people say,
Yeah.
what? You're buying somebody's common share? So we do preferred securities, usually the most senior preferred securities in a private company. So there's a lot of downside risk protection.
Okay.
But then you have to discuss and negotiate a reasonable valuation. So we spend a lot of time doing valuation ourselves. We calculate what is the right valuation for us to come in.
Okay.
We do the modeling. We do scenarios for each company. We put everything in writing. We have 20, 30-page investment memo for every company.
I guess you use AI within your company.
Nope.
Oh,
Not today.
no.
Not today.
You're kidding me. No.
Our AI is Barry, Rizwan, and I right now.
Really? No, we need to create your agent, your GPTs on that one.
So we're looking at some actually technology companies that summarize documents. I'm actually having coffee with one guy who's traveling here from Pittsburgh.
Okay.
And his company does that. So it's called the legal tech or document tech. So basically taking documents and summarizing. So that's where I think the little agents or small agents will do very well.
Do you want to describe that agent, the big, small, and little agents?
We were talking about agentic AI. So agentic AI is the new term, relatively new term, that was thrown in probably earlier this year. It's basically saying a piece of software that can do one task very well. And that task could be very small or tiny, or could be very large and very complex.
And does it need that amount of a compute power, or it can be hosted within your phone or within your system?
The tiniest task that we all are familiar with, but we never called it agent, is the spell checker in your email or iPhone.
Or Grammarly.
So this is running in the background, but that agent only knows, and you know how many mistakes they still make, right?
Right.
Because they think that you're typing this word, but you actually wanted to type something else. So that is a earlier, very basic form of agentic AI.
Okay.
More advanced would be when you call a call center. So you're not talking to a human being, a human voice is talking to you. They're trying to help you to push the different commands on the phone to get to the right department, right?
Right.
Et cetera, et cetera. The most complex agentic AI that we spoke about yesterday is Google's self-driving car called Waymo. I don't know if you have ridden Waymo. Have you?
I have not.
So Waymo is available in California,
San Francisco,
and San Francisco, Scottsdale, and two other cities.
Hey, they're bringing it to Miami, though.
I think they're talking about it. So they've been working on this for 10 plus years. They spent billions of dollars on this. This car has no driver. It doesn't have steering wheel. So the car drives by itself. So that is a most complex example of agentic AI. It's basically replacing a driver who can drive a car. Yeah. So there are going to be many agents or agentic AI solutions coming to market over time. And we were just talking, about, producers of this podcast.
Content.
Can they be replaced by AI agent or not? I seriously doubt it, but these are the kind of things that are being discussed. So little baby agents, I call them, or big complex agents.
Okay, more, and you can see the sparkle in your eyes when you talk about AI. It's part of your DNA, I guess. When you describe Al, what attributes would come to mind?
Curious. Yeah, I think that has been probably part of my, if you using your word DNA, from childhood. So that's natural curiosity. I'm always learning, new concepts, new ideas, meeting new people, and meeting new people to learn and exchange ideas. So this is how I think I describe myself.
So what would you tell the younger generations that are coming in, and based on your experience living in how many continents? 3, 4?
Primarily in Asia and North America, but I've spent some time in Europe.
Okay.
I wish I could say I've been to 5 continents, but I haven't. So Asia and North America and some Europe. So, stay curious. Try new things, different things, right? Take risks. When you're younger, when you're older, you may not want to take a risk, although some of us have taken risks. I took risks in starting my own firm. But generally, be curious.
What's one thing I haven't asked? Who want to tell?
You could have asked me what keeps me up.
What keeps you up at night? There you go.
Actually, the same things that keep me up during the day.
Okay.
It's really fundraising, because that's single most important thing for us to grow as a firm, right? So that we have more capital to give to our portfolio companies.
Right.
So we can put money in more companies. So we can do more interesting things. So that's big part of that keeps me up. So we were talking about just internal stuff. Then I have to deal with all the vendors, service providers, legal, regulatory issues. I'm in charge of all those things, within the firm. So all external stuff, I primarily do it myself today. So as Sophia is joining us in New York, I am planning to give her more of the investment management related activities, even regulatory. So we have to report to regulators. We have to comply with all kind of laws and regulations. That is on top of the stuff that we do for our investors and for our portfolio companies.
What's the most challenging side of fundraising?
Most challenging was to convince new investors to invest with us, take risk with us. So getting the first few investors.
What's your elevator pitch for Quartus Capital Partners?
It's getting shorter and crisper. It's basically saying we are AI pioneers. We are seasoned technologists. We have done this for decades. Come and invest with us. And we have a particular knack for finding unique, disruptive technology companies that we can invest in and generate significant alpha, which is upside, and yet have impact in our society.